They say every house has secrets. Some are carved into the walls, others hidden beneath the floorboards. But the most terrifying ones are the whispers that come from the attic. If you've ever heard faint voices in your own home, voices that shouldn't be there, stay with me. Because tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that still haunts me to this day. And before we begin, imagine this. It's past midnight. The house is silent. But from above your bed, a voice begins to whisper your name. Would you go check? Or would you stay frozen under the covers? Tell me in the comments. What would you do? I was 13 the first time it happened. My parents had just bought an old farmhouse on the edge of town. You know the type. Paint peeling, wooden stairs that creak no matter how light you step, and of course an attic that was always locked. We weren't supposed to go up there. Dad said it was unsafe. The floorboards were weak, the beams unstable. But that didn't stop me from lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what was hidden above. Because sometimes, late at night, I'd hear it. A faint sound, almost like whispering. At first, I thought it was the wind. But one night, it grew louder, clearer. The whispers weren't random. They were words, slow, drawn out, as if someone was speaking through the cracks in the wood. And I swear, it sounded like my name. Sarah. I froze. My whole body turned to ice. The voice was faint, but I knew what I heard. I pulled the blanket over my head, heart pounding, praying for morning to come. The next day, I told my parents. They laughed. Said it was probably the pipes, or maybe an animal in the walls. But I knew better. Over the next few weeks, the whispers grew bolder. Sometimes they came just after midnight, other times in the early hours of dawn. Always the same voice, always calling me. But it wasn't just the voice anymore. Strange things started happening in my room. My lamp flickered even when it was unplugged. My closet door creaked open in the middle of the night. And once, I woke up to find small footprints in the dust near my bed. Footprints too small to belong to my father, too wide to belong to me. And then, one night I gathered enough courage to climb the stairs. The attic door was at the end of the hallway, tucked away like a forgotten secret. I remember standing there in the dark, hands shaking as I reached for the knob. It was cold, too cold, like the metal had been sitting in a freezer. And then I heard it, right behind the door. Sarah, we're waiting. I stumbled back, heart racing, nearly falling down the stairs. That night, I didn't sleep. After that, things in the house began to change. The air always felt heavy, like someone unseen was watching. Objects moved on their own. A chair slightly pulled out, a photo frame tilted when no one touched it. Sometimes I'd find my toys arranged in a perfect circle in the middle of my floor, though I hadn't touched them. And every time I passed the attic door, I could swear I heard breathing on the other side. It was a stormy night when the whispers became unbearable. Rain hammered the roof, thunder shook the windows, and above it all, clearer than ever before, the whispers poured from the attic. Not one voice this time. Dozens. Low, overlapping murmurs that crawled beneath my skin. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight, crept down the hall, and pressed my ear to the attic door. The whispers stopped. Complete silence. And then, bang! Something slammed against the other side of the door. I dropped the flashlight, stumbling backward in terror. The light rolled across the floor, beam flickering. When I picked it up again, I realized the attic door was now slightly open. Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I pushed the door wider. The smell hit me first. Damp wood, dust, and something rotten. I shined the flashlight into the attic. Cobwebs hung like curtains. Dust swirled in the beam of light. And in the far corner, I saw them. Not people, not exactly. Figures. Pale, thin, their faces half hidden in shadow. They stood perfectly still, heads tilted, as if they'd been waiting for me. My flashlight flickered, and in that split second, all of them whispered at once. "Sarah, join us." I don't remember how I got out of there. I remember screaming, running down the stairs 2 at a time, and slamming my bedroom door shut. I pressed myself against the wall, clutching the flashlight like it could save me. But the whispers didn't stay in the attic that night. They followed me, through the walls, through the floorboards, right into my room. The whispers circled me, crawling inside my head, repeating my name over and over until I thought I'd go insane. And then, just as suddenly as they began, they stopped. The silence was worse, because I knew silence meant waiting. The next morning, my parents found me curled up in the corner, still awake, eyes wide, refusing to move. I begged them to leave the house. They didn't believe me until they tried to open the attic door themselves. It was sealed shut, like it had never been opened in years. But when they pressed their ears against it, their faces went pale, because they heard it too. The whispers. We moved out soon after, and to this day, I never set foot in that house again. But the story doesn't end there. Even in our new home, I sometimes woke in the night to hear faint scratching above my ceiling. Soft creaks, like someone pacing slowly overhead. And once, when the house was silent, I heard it again. Sarah. It wasn't the same house anymore. But the whispers had followed me. And now I wonder, were they ever tied to the attic? Or were they always tied to me? So tell me, if it were you, and you heard whispers calling your name from the attic, would you go check? Or would you pretend you never heard them? Drop your answer in the comments below. And remember, some attics are locked for a reason.